I also got to play the role of AV tech and make sure that the live stream was going, and that's why we're a little delayed. I had to find the magic button in the back room to make it all work, so it happened. So it's wonderful to have you here and to share in this conversation. As has been the case Monday night and Tuesday evening, we're going to have an opportunity to hear from the next candidate for superintendent of schools. We have two questions that we're going to work from, and just as a reminder, I know some folks have been a little unsettled by this, but we're not going to receive questions at this time, that we're going to just hear from the candidate. And if you do have feedback that you want a board member to receive, we invite you to give that directly to one of the board members. So board members that are in the space, if you could put a hand up here so folks can see where you are. We've got a couple in the back and in that. So please find a board. You are welcome to ask the board member any question that you would like to have surfaced. Correct. That's not the process that we're using. So thank you for that. We're gonna just have that space to get that feedback so that as a board we can put that together and engage in that. I will tell you the candidate has been getting questions all day from various stakeholder groups, and I'll talk a little bit about that when we wrap up. So without any further ado, I'm going to invite our next candidate, Chris DeFalvio, to come, and I'm going to lob some questions at you, and okay, we'll go from there. So the first question that I have for you is, why are you seeking to become the next superintendent at Homer Schools?
Okay, all right. All right, well, thanks, Aaron. So first off, I share your frustration with the questions, but I understand the district's liability for going outside of the HR processes and all of that. But I had a, we got the questions ahead of time, and I had this speech, and as I was coming in and I was seeing the people coming that are here, and so many of you that I know, I thought if I'm really going to talk about why I want to be superintendent at Homer, it needs to come from here and not from some scripted paper. But the reason that I want to be here is that I loved my experience here as a teacher. I actually interviewed here and in another district to teach. And during the interview process, I was driven around the community, and it was a lot different than the experience I had in another school district. That district was going to pay me about $10,000 more to teach. And when we were coming back to the area, my dad was in the area. He's sitting right here in front. It's the best dad anyone could ask for. And I called my wife. She must have walked out with the baby or something. But I called her and I said, I want you to come to Homer. This is where we're going to raise our family. And she thought I was crazy. But as a supportive spouse, she indulged my insanity. And she came up, fell in love with the area, which really my dad had turned me on to. I really consider myself to be from Central New York. I was born in Syracuse, and then when I was young, we moved to Binghamton. But ultimately, this is where my family is now. And after living here for more than a decade, I had an opportunity to be a superintendent in another school district. And it was a very difficult decision to make, a difficult decision to leave a supportive environment. Many of these people in the room who supported me in that. But ultimately, I think it was what I needed to have the experience. Oh, hey, Dean, you're back. To have the experience so I could offer my service to the Homer School District. And the main reason that I want to be the superintendent here is because I want to serve the community. It's what I've always done since I was a high school student. I've been involved in service clubs. I remember one of the clubs I enjoyed was Stand in the Gap, and our focus was to end homelessness. And even though it was a big dream, we it helped me feel connected to the community. Later on as a teacher, I got involved in Kiwanis and different clubs like that. And then one of the big draws here in Homer was the Cortland Breakfast Rotary Club that meets at the Center for the Arts. And I see many Rotarians in here today. But connecting with that service club allowed me to interact with other great organizations in the community like the Brewster House, had great experiences at the Homer Center for the Arts. The chairs that were put in to replace the pews, I remember walking them up with Jim Hopkins, who has passed away, a great man. And when I go to the Homer Center for the Arts, I can see the impact that I was able to have, that small impact by, changing the community. And that's such a great resource that we have here. And I want to be a part of that. And as my daughter and her husband and 3-year-old and just born grandson are here, I see it as an opportunity to see the next generation come up, to have Little League again with them at Griggs Field, take them to Super Cream afterwards. And, and I'm talking to you as far as the community piece. So I had 5 other stakeholder groups today, and I talked to them like from that lens. But as a community member, that's why I want to be here, and that's why I want to be the next superintendent at Homer. And, whoever you get, whoever ends up being your next superintendent, they'll be lucky to have you because I see some great people in the audience. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I found the other microphone, so we're in good shape now. It wasn't really hidden. I just didn't look close enough. So the second question that we have, and it's related a little bit, you talked about community, but we're looking to hear, how would your leadership impact both the school and the community?
Thanks, Aaron. So one of the things that I've tried to do as a school leader is to help prepare our students for their future, not our past. And one of the ways that I've tried to do that from a community perspective is making sure that we are partnering with the appropriate people. So when we look at programming, we've got to involve parents as a stakeholder, community as a stakeholder. We've got to involve local businesses and the students. So when I think about the overall health of the district, and I see some students coming in the back, it is important that we involve them. So in my current role, we've added community members, we've added parents, and we've added students to some of our key committees. I won't name them all, but facilities, they impact everybody. Communication, it's important to everybody, and we need to be ready and open to feedback from everyone. Which, if you interacted with me now, you'd see at the bottom of my email, you can provide me anonymous feedback at any time. One of the problems with leadership is when leaders don't check themselves and they get a big ego. You can read about it in a book by Ryan Holiday. It's called Ego is the Enemy. But ultimately, the way that you connect and understand what you're doing is the right direction is by having feedback loops. So every year I send out to the teachers, staff, and parents, how am I doing? What's one thing you want me to do more of? What's one thing you want me to do less of? Sometimes that's tough to read. My wife will tell you when I come home and I'm like, I got to do the tough reflection, look in the mirror and see what we need to do better as a school district. But I think that that is an important piece for growth. So I want to go back to the community partnerships. This might sound small, but I remember if you've seen the batting cages at Griggs, I was happy to be a part of that because there was a lot going on. There were people, I see Jeremy Boylan did some fundraising back there. Don Richards from Complete Construction Concept helped volunteer some time for clearing, and our Rotary Club donated some money. These were ways we partnered, and as a Little League board, we were able to bring that batting cage to Griggs. Now, in a bigger picture for the school district, the ways I want to partner with the community. the things I'm doing right now, I meet regularly with our local government officials so we can look at areas where we can be efficient and make sure we're not duplicating things. I meet regularly with the president of SUNY Morrisville. I would do the same thing with SUNY Cortland and TC3 to find out what can we do to advance the programming for our students. And then another thing that I'm really proud of, when I was in my role at BOCES, we worked really hard to bring embedded career and technical education programs for not just the students here at Homer, but 22 other school districts. And those embedded programs, if you don't know what they are, is they're career and technical education programs that are right in the business. They're in engineering firms. They're in car dealerships. So you're not just going to the McAvoy campus and working on a car there. You're working on the car in a real dealership. And the employer can give you the skills that you need to be successful. So those are a few examples of some of the things I would try to bring to the community. I also think that you should have a say in the school budget. So should all stakeholders. So one of the things I've done in my current role is we've implemented what's called participatory budgeting. And this is really important because some of my doctoral research is around this, but in 2011, there were predictions out of Syracuse University that were showing that we would be in the financial situation that we are today. And it was based on the current, we're talking about our current seniors, when they were kindergartners, this prediction was being made because there was a movement to reduce federal and state spending. So it's shifting back to the locality. And as a locality, we've got to be informed and understand what our children need, what our teachers need, and what our community needs. So with the participatory budgeting, we bring everyone together and we talk about it. It's not, I don't look at the budget in isolation and go work with just the business official and come out. It's a full process. So by the time we get to that as a community, and Rotary clubs heard, and so have other civic organizations about what we're doing as a school district, the Chamber of Commerce, groups like that. So we're gaining the partnership as we go forward. And why is that important? Because people, yes, they make the decision with their wallets, but they also make their decisions based on trust. And so if I'm the successful candidate in Homer, I know a lot of you. I want to get to know the people that I know better, and the people that I don't know, I want to get to know you. And if you talk to people in the community I'm in, they have my cell phone. Parents, I give it out, and they're like, really, give out your cell phone? Yep, not one person has ever abused it. And I think that comes because I have a sincere belief that people are good, and they're filled with good intentions. And if you approach those situations with people, they'll return that to you. And that's the approach I would take in interacting with you. I'm not going to promise it would always be perfect, but I will promise that I'm going to treat you with respect, work hard for our children, our teachers, and the community. So thanks for the opportunity to talk to you. Thanks to the Board of Education, and thank you to this great community of Homer.
Thanks so much. So we do have one more piece that we wanted to make sure to leave room for our candidates to just say, if there's anything that you think we as a community need to hear about you, or that you wanted to make sure to share with us that you haven't already, we invite you to do so.
So I'll give you something personal, but it's kind of low stakes. I really like pizza. And if you ever drove on 281 and you saw the brick oven, that was the oven that I built. And actually, the irony is I see someone that helped me build it sitting next to a friend of mine who bought the house. I texted him the other day asking him if it was for sale. He said no. But I bring this up. How does this matter for our students? Well, I try to connect with people on these levels. I'm very proud of my Italian heritage. I'm actually working on my citizenship right now, my dad here, first person to graduate from college, first generation American. And the students on Monday, a couple kids had asked me, hey, can you come in and make pizza? And I was in the classroom, brought in the pizza stone, prepped everything on Sunday, teaching them, rolling them out, talking to them about my grandmother. So I think one other thing I'd like people to know is I'm going to get to know your kids. I'm going to be at the games. I was at our wrestling tournament. I've seen, you guys on the other end in games, and I've seen some of you there. So I think people know that when I say I'm going to be there, I'm saying what I mean. And I was also the type of kid that was in musicals as well. I care about the fine arts. Both my kids not only participate in sports, but they also participate in fine arts, and I'll be at those, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know the kids I don't already know, besides the two in the back. I recognize you from Little League and basketball, so nice to see you again. But this is who I am. So thanks.
Thank you. And now you can sit and catch your breath and take a couple of deep breaths and center in. So again, thank you all for coming out. I want to remind you, if you have some feedback that you would like the board to receive, the best way to do that is to talk directly with a board member before you leave here today. But before I dismiss us to move on to whatever's next, I did this Monday night, Tuesday night, so if you've been with us the whole time, you're like, okay, I can get up and do this for him, but we're going to do it together. I just want to explain to us what the process has been and what will be moving forward as we do this work. So all the way back before the first of the year, when Superintendent Turk told the board that he intended to retire at the end of the school year, we took that information and sat with it and asked questions like, are you sure? Or is that really what you want to do? And he said, yep, that's what I'm going to do. And then we began to learn as a board, what does that mean? Because we knew through our training, one of the biggest things that we do as a board is we hire and supervise the superintendent. And so we began to get ready to do our work. We looked into some help with this, search consultants. We explored a couple different options. We invited Matt Cook from OCM BOCES to do a presentation to us to help us understand what a search consultant will do and won't do and how that helps us. We talked briefly even about exploring employing or contracting with a search consultant outside of our BOCES system. We decided to work with Matt Cook and not invest the district's money in a consultant who is probably going to do the same thing that Matt has done and that we've already paid for through our BOCES connection. And so Matt came in and began to work with us and helped us develop our brochure so people could begin to learn about our school and our community. And we put out a call for applications. We received the applications. And once the deadline passed, we took all the applications that came in as a board. We took an evening and we went application by application and talked through pluses and minuses and questions. And Matt, as our consultant, had taken time already to do some research and talk to his colleagues around the state of what they know about the individual. And as a board, we narrowed the field down to our first interview group. And then we invited them to come for an interview over the course of a couple evenings. We interviewed each person and then talked as a board and narrowed the field again to the second round of interviews. Before we got to the second round of interviews, some of you may have been involved in the focus groups that we held to learn what you as a community are looking for in a superintendent of schools. And that had different stakeholder groups along the way so that we could form the questions that we were asking in the second round of interviews. After the conclusion of the second round of interviews, the board sat again, compared our notes, had a lot of discussion, and narrowed in on the 3 finalists of which we've been interacting with this week. So tonight brings about the end of the finalist journey. You've had an opportunity to hear from all 3 finalists. And what will happen shortly after we kind of mill around and hang around here to listen for any feedback that you might have, we will gather for dinner. Chris will join us for dinner, and we'll have some follow-up conversation. And then at some point, we'll send him off onto his next, and we as a board will sit and process the day Matt Cook, I haven't looked yet, but I'm pretty sure that on my phone, I already have an email from Matt Cook that has the notes from all the groups today. That would be consistent with what he's done all week. While we're doing this, he's pulling those notes together so that we can start to look at those as a board tonight and sift through it. We will, at this point, begin to narrow in and identify who's the candidate that we want to enter into negotiations with. And that really is the process. We identify who, and then we have a negotiation time to settle on a contract. Once we have that contract settled, we will announce to the public who the next superintendent of schools is going to be. I bet you would love me to tell you the date that that's going to happen. I can't tell you that date. I'd love to be able to say, by this day we're going to do it, but then I'd have to probably come back later and say, I'm sorry, I was wrong. We didn't get that one. And part of the reason is we want to work quickly, but we don't want to work so quickly that we don't do our work well. So we're going to take the time that we need, but no more than we need. And as soon as we can, we are going to make public for all of you to know who the next superintendent is. And I will tell you, we have a mountain of information to work through, both from what we've had from interviews, and I thank you all for sending information through email to us as a board and to some of you directly to me as the president. We engage all of that. So thank you for making your voice heard so that we can help do our work as best that we can. So again, I look forward to being able to make the announcement of who the next superintendent is going to be. In the meantime, I do invite you to give any feedback or any pieces you'd like to any of the board members, including myself. And then we'll go about our work. So again, thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you for investing in the time in our community. And I hope that you have a wonderful rest of the evening. Thanks.